What if tomorrow morning you wake up, pick up your phone, and see a message? Congratulations. You have $1 million. Not clickbait, not a dream, not a prank, a real million. A second of silence. Your heart starts beating faster. Your mind instantly paints a new life. Freedom, luxury purchases, travel, a life without limits. But here's the question almost nobody asks. Will that million make you rich? Or destroy everything you have? The problem is money doesn't change a person. It amplifies them. If you know how to manage money, you become stronger. If you don't, the million just accelerates your mistakes. First comes the euphoria. You feel power, control, like the whole world just opened up. You start spending. It's only 2,000. That's nothing. I need a car anyway. You only live once. A million feels infinite. But let's be honest. A house, a car, gifts, trips, expensive habits, and suddenly, half of it is gone. The most dangerous thing isn't spending. The most dangerous thing is the new lifestyle. You start living like a millionaire. But the money isn't infinite. When it runs out, the expenses stay. And that's when stress begins. Panic. Desperate attempts to make fast money. Risky decisions. And many people lose everything right there. But imagine a different scenario. You win $1 million, and you tell no one. You don't spend a single dollar for the first month. You study. You calculate. You plan. Because $1 million is not a toy. It's a tool. If invested even at a moderate return, it can generate income every year. And then you're not living off the million. You're living off what the million earns. That's where real freedom begins. But there's another hidden risk. When money comes too easily, people stop growing. Why study? Why improve? Why push yourself? And slowly, you lose the most important thing. The ability to create value. And without that, even $1 million is temporary. So the real question isn't what happens if you win $1 million. The real question is, who are you at that moment? The person who spends the opportunity? Or the person who turns it into a system, income, freedom? Because $1 million is not a gift. It's a test. And it doesn't test your bank account. It tests your mindset. You start asking yourself different questions. How do I protect this money? How do I make it work for me? How do I stop depending on a one-time event? And then you realize something powerful. $1 million is not wealth. Wealth is the ability to generate income consistently. If you simply spend the money, eventually you return to where you started. But if you learn to manage it, you will never be the same again. You begin thinking like an investor, not a lottery winner. You measure risks. You ignore quick schemes. You build a system. And that's when the real transformation happens. Because the biggest asset isn't the million. The biggest asset is you. Your mindset, your discipline, your ability to say no to impulses. There's something else people rarely talk about. When you suddenly have money, you discover who people really are. Who is genuinely happy for you? Who sees you as an opportunity? Who stays the same, and who changes? That's part of the test too. $1 million doesn't just test financial intelligence. It tests character. Can you stay calm? Can you resist emotional decisions? Can you think 5, 10 years ahead? Truly wealthy people don't think about what to buy today. They think about how to secure tomorrow. Now imagine, 1 year has passed. There are two possible futures. Future number 1. Your social media looks perfect. New car, luxury trips, designer clothes. People say, "You're so lucky." But inside, there's anxiety. The excitement fades. The balance shrinks. You avoid checking your account. Until one day, you do. And you realize, it's almost gone. Future number 2. A year later, your life looks normal from the outside. No dramatic upgrades, but most of the money is working. You invested in skills, in knowledge, in assets that produce income. And now money flows in regularly. Not because you were lucky. Because you built structure. That's the secret. $1 million doesn't make you rich. It buys you time. Time to think. Time to learn. Time to build something stable. But if you waste that time on pleasure, it disappears with the money. Here's another deep truth. Money doesn't solve internal problems. If you were insecure, you'll just buy bigger symbols. If you compared yourself to others, you'll compare cars instead of clothes. If you lack discipline, your impulses will just get more expensive. So the real question isn't, what should I do with $1 million? It's, who must I become to keep $1 million? Imagine talking to yourself 10 years from now. One version says, "That was the biggest opportunity of my life. I wish I had handled it differently." The other version says, "That $1 million became my foundation. I used it wisely." The difference isn't luck, it's decisions made in the first months. The first 90 days decide everything. Because emotions are strongest at the beginning. And strong emotions are terrible financial advisors. Now here's the biggest twist. What if you never win $1 million? What if it never comes? Then the only way to reach that level is to build it yourself. And here's the truth. People who build wealth slowly almost always keep it longer. Because they understand the cost of decisions. So maybe the real lesson isn't about winning. It's about preparation. If $1 million arrived tomorrow, are you ready? Ready to think strategically? Ready to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term freedom? Ready to grow instead of show off? Because money is an amplifier. It amplifies discipline. It amplifies chaos. It amplifies strategy. It amplifies impulsiveness. It amplifies maturity. It amplifies immaturity. And here's the final image. $1 million is like a powerful engine. If you have a steering wheel and a map, you'll go far. If you don't, you'll just hit the gas and crash. So the question remains, if you win $1 million tomorrow, will you become wealthier? Or just louder? Because real capital isn't the number in your bank account. It's the level of your mindset. And if you're building that now, you don't need luck. You'll create your own $1 million. And that won't be chance. It will be inevitable.